Good afternoon, everyone. As we continue with the elbow joint biomechanics, yesterday we were talking about the function of the wrist complex. So, what are the movement occurred into the wrist complex? So, that is mainly flexion, extension, and radial ulnar deviation. So, how the carpal bones will move and how the radius ulnar will be moved during this movement. So first we will talk about the flexion extension. That yesterday we already discussed about that, but again I will tell you that during the flexion extension movement, the three proximal bones will uh, doing this movement. During this movement, the scaphoid bone, which is the which will doing the greatest motion during this flexion extension movement, and the lunate bone which will doing the least movement, which will move the least during among these three proximal carpal bones. Sorry. Now, how this movement will occur? So during this movement, during flexion, during flexion, sorry, flexion to extension, during flexion to extension, what happened? The distal carpal row. So during the flexion, the distal carpal row will moves onto proximal carpal row. So distal carpal will move onto the proximal carpal bones, as well as with that, as we doing the motion during the full flexion, the distal will be moved onto the proximal carpal bone. Second thing, what happened? As we are moving the scaphoid and the scaphoid, which is the proximal bone, so the scaphoid as well as the distal carpal bones will be moved onto the lunate and triquetrum. So the lunate and triquetrum both have the proximal bones. So the scaphoid as well as the distal carpal rows will be moved onto the lunate and the triquetrum. Third step, what happened? The carpal, all these proximal and distal carpal rows will be as a unitly they will move over the radius and the triangular fibrocartilage complex. So these all are the procedure will be happen during the flexion and extension, during the full flexion to full extension movement, as well as the opposite, the reverse process will be done during the extension to flexion movement. So now we will talk about the radial and ulnar deviation. So during radial and ulnar deviation, what happened? During the radial deviation means this side. This is ulnar deviation. This is radial deviation. So during radial deviation, the carpals, as we are doing radial deviation, so the carpal bones which will move towards the ulnar side. So this will move ulnar side. Carpals will be move ulnar side with simultaneously flexion of the proximal carpals. So they will move ulnar side, but the proximal carpals will move. The proximal carpals will also doing the flexion, as well as the distal carpal will be doing the extension. So every carpals will move during the radial deviation. The carpals will move ulnar side, as well as the proximal carpal bones will be going into the flexion position, as well as the distal carpal will be going into the extension position, and the opposite will be occur during the ulnar deviation. So opposite action of the carpal bones will be done into the ulnar deviation position. Now during the full radial deviation, both the radiocarpal joint as well as the midcarpal joint are going into the closed peg position. So when we are doing the full radial deviation, this radiocarpal joint as well as the midcarpal joint, they will go into the closed peg position of each other. Now, as the during the radial deviation, the wrist flexion extension movement will also vary. This movement will also vary according to the wrist position. So like it is more flexion to more extension, or less flexion to less extension during neutral position. Now if wrist in a full flexion position, if it is in a full extension position, so this wrist position also vary this radial or ulnar deviation movement. next we will talk about the muscle of the wrist complex. So what is the primary role of the muscle during the into the wrist complex? So muscle will provide the stable base for the hand while permitting the positional adjustment and allow for optimal length tension relationship. So what is the primary role of the muscle? So it will provide the stable base for the hand. It is provide the provide the stable base into the hand movement, as well as for the hand, for the weight bearing position, or for lifting something heavy weight, or for that. Second, it will also permitting the positional adjustment. It will permitting the positional adjustment into the hand, and it will allow the optimal length tension relationship between the joint. So muscles which are working into the wrist joint, it is divided into the two groups. First is volar and second is dorsal. So what are the volar muscle which will cause the flexion movement of the wrist joint, as well what are the dorsal muscle, they will doing the extension of the wrist joint. So what are the volar muscles? Palmaris longus, flexor carpi radialis, flexor carpi ulnaris, flexor digitorum superficialis, flexor digitorum profundus, and flexor pollicis longus. So these all are the volar muscles: palmaris longus, flexor carpi ulnaris, flexor carpi radialis, flexor digitorum superficialis, flexor digitorum profundus, and flexor pollicis longus. So these six muscles are the volar, or which will cause the flexion movement into the wrist joint. Second, what are the dorsal muscles? What are the extensor? So extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor carpi ulnaris, extensor digitorum superficialis, then extensor indicis and indicis, then abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, extensor pollicis longus, extensor digitorum. So these all are the muscles which will cause the extension into the wrist joint. So extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor digitorum profundus, extensor indicis pollicis, abductor pollicis longus, then extensor carpi ulnaris. So these all are the extensor pollicis brevis. So these all are the dorsal muscles which will cause the extension. Next is about the hand complex. So into the hand, this is all about the wrist complex. Now we will talk about the hand complex. Hand complex, which will include the 5 digit, these 4 fingers and 1 thumb. Each finger has the CMC joint, MCP joint, and the IP joint. So on the thumb has the one CMC joint, carpometacarpal joint, as well as 1 MCP joint, and only 1 CMC joint, 1 MCP joint, and 1 AP joint. Now each finger has 1 CMC joint, carpometacarpal joint, 1 metacarpophalangeal joint. Second is this one is the proximal. This one is proximal IP joint, and this one is known as the distal IP joint. So now overall in the hand joint there is a 19 bones and the 19 joints which is include distal to the carpal bones. So now first we will talk about the carpometacarpal joint of the fingers. So into the carpometacarpal joint, the articulation between the distal carpal row with the second to fifth base of the metacarpals, which is known as the carpometacarpal, means articulation between the distal carpal row with distal carpal row will be connected with the second to fifth base of the metacarpal. So it will connect with the second to fifth metacarpals, which is known as the carpometacarpal joint. Now the second metacarpal, which will articulates primarily with the trapezoid and secondarily with the trapezoid. So this second, which is connected with the trapezoid primarily, and the secondarily it will connect with the trapezium and the capitate. Now third, which will connect with the capitate, and fourth, which is connected with the capitate and hamate, and fifth, which is connected with the hamate. Now it is supported by the this whole, which is supported by the strong transverse and the weaker longitudinal ligament. So it is supported by the ligaments which is transversely strong as well as the longitudinally weak ligament. Now deep transverse metacarpal ligaments, which will cover the second to fourth metacarpal volarly, and it will together the metacarpal head and prevents the excessive abduction with contribute to carpometacarpal stability. So what will do this transverse ligament? So it will covers the second to fourth metacarpals volarly. So they will cover the volar side of the metacarpal, and it will, what is the function of this ligament? So they will prevent the excessive abduction of the fingers, as well as it will also help to the carpometacarpal joint stability. So this is all about the carpometacarpal joint of the finger. Now also there is a proximal transverse arch which is created by the there is also one proximal transverse arch, or it is also known as the proximal carpal arch. If it is it will affect the carpometacarpal joint as well as the hand function, but not the wrist function. So if it is affected, so it will affect the carpometacarpal function as well as the hand function, which is this arch is formed by the trapezium, trapezoid, capitate and hamate, and this one are mainly concave on the volar side. So this will make one arch kind of structures. Now this concavity of these joints or these bones are maintained by the transverse carpal ligament. So trapezium, trapezoid and capitate and hamate, which is concavely on the volar side, so which is maintained by this concave side, which is this concave side of these bones are maintained by the transverse carpal ligament and the intercarpal ligament, and this forms the carpal tunnel which contain the medial nerve, and these ligaments will contain a carpal tunnel, means they will create one tunnel kind of structures which is known as the carpal tunnel, and this carpal tunnel will contain the median nerve as well as the extrinsic flexor tendons. So if there is any injury will be occur into this, or it will affect the median nerve, which is and if it is affect the median nerve, so it is known as the carpal tunnel syndrome. So this is all about the flexion. In last, I will show you the transverse ligament and the tendon, which is past, that I already sent you that PPT. So please refer that PPT, and if there is any kind of query, then you can ask me. And next is CMC joint, range of motion and all, that we will see into the next video. Thank you.